Hello everyone, Pally here. Welcome back to Path of Exile 2. I'd love to introduce you guys to my newest character. This is Big Plague, a level 75 Chronomancer. That is a Sorcerer Ascendancy class. I've never played a Sorcerer before. This is my very first one. I am, however, very familiar with this side of the passive tree because Sorcerers start at the same spot that Witches do. And we're playing kind of a build Witches are known for playing. We are using Essence Drain and Contagion as our main ways of clearing maps. We have some other secrets in the arsenal for dealing damage to bosses, and I'll get to that when we get there. But essentially, most of our gameplay is hitting one enemy with Essence Drain to get a damage over time effect on that target, and then hitting that same target with Contagion. If that target dies, it spreads all of their damage over time effects to everyone else in the area as well. I also have the ability to use 3 curses. I have 2 of them on right now and an aura around me, and a massive one that we can put on the ground to round out the third. If you haven't seen my videos before, I do kind of these snapshots of what the build's doing prior to entering super late game maps, and then I work on a character for a week and show you where I'm at. I may not keep the triple curse into next week, but we might. It's not bad so far, and it's really easy to get up and running. You can literally start running it at like level 1, almost. Not triple curse, but you can do double curse at literally level 1 if you have the currency to invest. I'm going to do a map and show you what the gameplay looks like. Let me get one ready. I already know someone's typing out their comment. Actually, you can't unlock curses until later in the game. It's impossible to start at level 1. I mean, you can do it as early as you get curses, okay? All right, this is only a level 3 map, but this character just hit in game today. We're only level 75 at the moment, and we're gonna progress into maps pretty quickly. So one of the things I want you to notice is just how slow enemies are around my character. That is a culmination of 2 effects. I have not been body blocked at all. I'm even going to be dangerous. And look, I cut that corner. I had no business cutting that corner. All of those guys were there. But we have so much control over the area around us. I have not had one of those deaths where I've died just because I've pinned in an area. And granted, the enemies we're fighting right now aren't the fastest ones, but some of these dogs get around pretty quick. As we start to get kills on enemies, the Essence Drain and Contagion starts to propagate to everyone nearby that target. One of the things I was experimenting with in this build was getting as much area of effect as I could. I have it all over the place. All for one over here, radial force over here, reverberation over here, and royal over here. I'm bringing that up now because I don't think I'm going to continue to run those talents, run those passives in the future. When I was envisioning this build, I was thinking about this Essence Drain and Contagion spreading along these Abyss Crags like you're looking at right now. Abyss is the main activity I've been doing this league. And as you can see, the spread is doing just fine as it is right now. But if we look at my character's stats, Contagion is only spreading 2.8 meters. It does not scale much, even with all of that extra AoE added in. And if you want to talk about how safe this build is, I'm in the middle of an abyss and I just pulled out my character sheet to look at it. That's how little damage we're taking from literally everything around us. Because we have so much invested in that improved area of effect, that means we have plenty of room to grow our survivability or even our damage. We can pick up some more chaos nodes pretty easily. They're very close to a lot of those area nodes, in fact. One thing I'm curious with trying to really see how much I can capitalize on with this build this time around is curse magnitude, because one of the reasons these enemies are so slowed is because of one of our blasphemy curses, and that is the temporal chains that we have. I can find the ability. Temporal chains that we have cruising all around our character. One thing that the increased area of effect is giving us is a much larger radius on that curse. So enemies are getting hit with that from much further away. It is originating from my character, and you can see when it hits these enemies when they get those symbols above their head. But to be honest, there's some support gems that could probably cover the same amount that I've gotten from passive so far. One of the main problems we're running into right now is mana as well. So these elites that just start draining me if I get too close, they can be a bit of a big deal. We do have some built-in crowd control, and I'll go over how that works very soon. But basically, if we put Contagion on an enemy and they take too much chaos damage, they're going to start to build up a freeze. So we can freeze bosses and some of these stronger elites that we can't just burst down with Essence Drain Contagion. There's just nothing like finding good clusters like this, though, and then watching them get deleted. It is truly, truly satisfying. You got to pick on the little guys first, though. That's the most important part. Oh, that was such a good spread, too. Hey, we found the boss. This is what I'm not great at. A lot of what we're going to be trying to accomplish with the build is just making its boss damage much more reasonable. So basically, I can put Despair on the ground. That's our third curse. I can put that underneath the boss's feet. Then I'm dropping these hex totems down, these dark effigies. And what these are going to do is just attack anyone that has a damage over time effect on them. That's where the majority of our single target damage is going to come from. These are a little tedious to use. They cost a lot of mana. They don't last for very long, but they can build up that freeze on the boss over time. Bosses are affected less by our curses, which is why I'm interested in getting more curse magnitude. Because this enemy right here, we're affecting by 42%, 20 and 14 on our other curses, on our blasphemy curses. But the boss was like a 10%, so we are affecting them less. And I want to see how much we can really stretch that out. So that's the gameplay, and here are the skills and gems that make it all work. Essence Drain is our main way of dealing damage. We're supporting that with Chaos Mastery, +1 to level of supported Chaos skills. That is one of the best things we can do to pump up our damage with this build. I actually have a level 23 Essence Drain and Contagion, a level 22 Dark Effigy, even though the actual gem I'm using is probably level 17. So that is very, very valuable. Swift Affliction into Intense Agony, supported with Considered Casting and Deliberation, closing out Essence Drain. Now, Contagion, I have leveled up for a little bit extra damage. One of the issues we're running into is mana consumption. I think one of the ways we could mediate that a little bit is by just dropping the level of our Contagion, because the damage of this ability doesn't matter as much as the effect that it's having on everyone around us. So that is something to consider. But we have Magnified Area with this for that improved area of effect. Unleash, which allows it to repeat onto enemies, so I don't have to sit there and cast it on each and every enemy and then hit them with one Essence Drain. It just kind of puts it on a cluster of enemies, and then I can pick one at random in that cluster to hit. Improves the gameplay quite a lot. Chaos Mastery into Chaotic Freeze. This is what we are using to freeze those stronger elites and those bosses that we are afraid of. Last but not least, I have Considered Casting here at the end. We could put in, let me show you. We could grab Arcane Surge and put it in that spot if we were a little more concerned about our mana instead of the damage that the ability was doing as well. Dark Effigy is the sticks that we place down on the ground. By default, you only have a limit of one of these, but with a support gem, you can easily put 2 down. This is where the majority of our single target damage is coming from. We have Overabundance, increasing that limit, so we can have 2 of these. Then Urgent Totems 3 with Rapid Casting, Concentrated Area, and Controlled Destruction. The idea is they're just going to beam one target. The AoE doesn't matter. As you spread your dots, they're just going to shoot more enemies anyway. Their splash damage doesn't matter at all. They will shoot homing missiles at anything you have damage over time on. Next up is our curse setup. This is a incredible survivability tool for our character. Its effectiveness cannot be understated. We're using temporal chains for the massive slow 57% around our character all of the time. And we have Enfeeble as well, which is reducing the damage that enemies can deal by 28% at this particular level. And that'll continue to go up as magnitudes go up as well. We have these as an aura around us by using Blasphemy to support them. And you may notice that I haven't put any more supports in this. Up until like literally an hour ago, I was completely capped out on Spirit. I have a little bit more to work with right now. We could potentially increase the area of this. We could potentially increase the magnitude of these curses. Just some options we have. I'll figure that out as we go down the road into our follow-up episode. Truthfully, I don't know if we're going to keep triple curses yet. We're going to have to vibe it out. It is consuming my ring slot, more on that in a second, to be able to use 3 of them at any given time. If we were going to drop one, it would probably be the Enfeeble. Despair is incredible at stripping enemy resistance to our chaos damage. Just this one button press alone means 50% of their chaos damage is going to be stripped away. We have that supported with Heightened Curse for more magnitudes, Curse Ground, and Efficiency. And because of our massive AoE, that is such a big rune on the ground. This isn't something I cast all the time, but you absolutely could. I mostly just make sure this is underneath bosses when my totems go down. Next, we're getting a pretty healthy chunk of damage from Withering Presence, and I just realized how long it's been since I've upgraded this. Well, upgrades just make it attack more often. It'd probably be at like 1.4 something per second instead of 1.5, but all Withering Presence does is wither enemies in your presence. It's right on the tin. If an enemy is withered, they're going to take more chaos damage. So if someone's in or nearby your character, you're basically just going to deal more damage to them. To support that, I just have prolonged duration in that. Now, to close out, I do have Convalescence. If we start to take too much damage and my energy shield gets a little too low, all we have to do is press Convalescence. It has a 30-second cooldown, and then it's going to start to recuperate. That's not the right word. That's actually an effect. We need to be very clear with our wording in this game. It is going to recharge my energy shield. Now, as far as the passive tree goes, this is likely to see a very big redesign the next time you see it, but some of the core pillars are still going to be here. So from the Sorcerer starting location, we make our way up to Pure Energy. Then I went west, grabbing the Practice Signs, Raw Power, and eventually Spiral to Insanity. I then made my way down to the south to grab the Radial Force for that improved area of effect. Again, probably removing some of these improved area of effects, but All for One was nearby too, so we scooped that up as well. From there, I made my way back to Pure Energy and went north, grabbing Dampening Shield, making my way a little to the east to grab both of these energy shield upgrades as well. This has been by far my tankiest character I've ever played between these curses and all of these super easy to get energy shield upgrades. We do get a little bit more damage with Lingering Horror and a little bit more area of effect with Royal before continuing north, grabbing the Jewel Socket, making our way over to Whispers of Doom. This is what allows us to have a second curse activated on targets. Our ring, more on that in a second, is what allows us to have a third curse activated on targets. We then grabbed a damage increase with Dark Entries, giving us a +1 level to all chaos skills. Grabbed more energy shield with Patient Barrier. Made my way west for more energy shield with Enhanced Barrier. And then Jewel Socket started calling me over here. We grabbed one, made our way south, and grabbed another to the west of it, picking up Reverberation along the way. If I had to guess, a lot of this is going to be respec'd out in our next episode, but we're about to grab a little bit more damage over here on the right with Pure Chaos, where we would get extra chaos damage, and we're going to be able to grab that next time we level up. If you're wondering about my jewels, they're pretty boring. Max Energy Shield, and then what I was really going for is curse magnitudes here. I was hoping I might be able to get some chaos damage on these things too, but I couldn't find any examples of that. So really what we're looking for, or what I'm looking for in this particular instance, is just trying to see what we can do with that cursed magnitude. And of course, last but not least, our Ascendancy nodes that I've unlocked so far with the Chronomancer. First up is the Quicksand Hourglass. This grants us the Sands of Time. Sands of Time is basically two competing skills. They never go into the negative. There's no downside to this. But if you look up at the top left, you're going to be constantly pulling and pushing in between two different buffs. The one on the left gives us skill speed, so we can shoot our abilities faster. The one on the right gives us area of effect. As I mentioned, I was experimenting a lot with area of effect and how we might be able to use it to chain way outside the boundaries of our screen. So far, those tests have not been fruitful, and I think I am going to take this away in the future, but I have a plan for it. What I love so far, it's genuinely one of my favorite parts about the build, enemies in your presence are slowed by 20%. It is so incredibly strong. Between the apex of the moment and the temporal chains that we are sending with our blasphemy setup, it literally feels like I have a temporal bubble, like what the enemy elites can have, where if you get too close to me, you just can't play the game. You're so slowed, you can't do anything. With these two combined, I feel so incredibly strong. Like, genuinely, this is the first build I've ever made where I was like, yeah, you could probably play this in hardcore and actually have a good time. My gear is not as like season startery as what you're probably used to in these builds, but funny enough, as I was leveling, some of this just absolutely fell into my lap. The Adziri's Disdain is a great unique to use for this build. It's recommended by a lot of Essence Drain Contagion Lich builds because it gives you quite a hefty amount of extra energy shield. I did not buy this one. It dropped on the ground for me at level 40. It was insane. It's such a small thing, but it felt like the luckiest I have ever been in this game. I was like, no way, I actually need that. It felt so cool. My chest piece has spirit, double resistances, and that increased energy shield, just trying to bring up our maximum a little bit. Our chest piece is getting a little outdated. It's going to need some upgrades soon. Another thing that's a little outdated. Oh, God. I used this level 6 focus and a level like 3 weapon for the majority of the campaign. I just swapped out my weapon recently. The main stuff that's going to be scaling our damage is the increased spell damage, increased chaos damage, and the +3 levels to all chaos skills. This weapon is really good, especially for its level. We're going to need to replace it soon. It's only level 48. We can also increase our damage with our amulet slot. Unfortunately, mine only has +1 level to all spell skills. I heard, is this true, that you can go up to +5 this season? I saw some +4s on PoE trade, but I didn't see any 5s. The plus skills there, the spirit is absolutely essential for us, and we need that improved spell damage as well. Our ring is giving us a lot of resistances as well as that chaos damage increase. I spent probably 20 divines on my accessories and my gloves so far. And you might hear that and freak out. Like, there's no way I can afford that. The only reason this gear was more expensive is because of that rarity to items found on it. I figured I already had the currency sitting around. We might as well boost that stat so I can start getting some items while I'm actually going through these rifts. Through these maps. Holy crap, I just triggered someone with Diablo lingo. I'm sorry. I hope we can recover. If you wanted to get similar gear with just double resistances and then like health or energy shield, it would absolutely be super cheap still this late in the league, and you could scoop those up no problem. I was looking at those as well. Remember, with your belt, you only need 2 charm slots because you unlock a 3rd in the campaign. I have not put my charm slot in. In all the footage that we were doing today, I want you to notice how fast I'm moving around all of these enemies. And that's only with 15% increased movement speed on my boots. Along with double res and energy shield, these boots can be improved by a massive, massive amount. But even with like 20% less than the movement speed we can obtain from this, we're still so fast because of our curses. Enemies have such a hard time keeping up with us. And in a lot of instances, your movement speed is part of your survivability in this game. So it's almost like we're amplifying our movement speed even more because we're slowing down enemies by so much. Last but not least is our only required unique for our current setup, Diodre's Damning. This is the ring that allows us to apply that additional curse. You can find examples of this ring on the auction house for a single exalt. It is so incredibly cheap to pick up and add to your build if you wanted to, but you are sacrificing one of your most valuable slots for that additional curse. So I'm not sure if 3 is worth it. Maybe 2 is the sweet spot. That's something we're going to continue to experiment with as we continue on in the future. But it normally rolls up to 15 resistance, all elemental resistance. We have a corrupted one that rolled up to 17. So nice little bonus on top there. This was still very cheap, even with that extra resistance rolled on to it. So it may have looked like my boss damage was okay versus that boss. That is the best it has ever been. I'm still considering adding something in like Hex Blast or something to improve our single target damage a little bit more versus bosses. I also think it would freeze them a little bit faster. One thing I do not want to do with this build is go crit, and that's mainly because I just did a crit build, and I'm pretty sure my next build is going to be a crit build, so I am not interested in any of those nodes. Those crit builds end up looking pretty similar on the passive tree, so I do want to avoid that. But if you guys have any suggestions for the build that you think would work well as we roll into the second episode in about a week's time, I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them down there. The community is super helpful. We also have a ton of people in Discord talking about PoE all the time if you're interested. Thank you all so much for being here. Hit that like button on your way out, and I'll see you again with Big Plague very soon.